Sometimes the jokes just write themselves. I found in life, if you just look around, you can find humor in everything. Welcome back to the Boiler Wild podcast. My name is Eric Johnson. Now, this podcast talk about boiler industry topics as well as personal development. We should always strive to be better people in and outside of our career. I always strive to be a better person in and outside my career. I am not perfect. Nobody is perfect. I have lazy days, but I want to have more days where I push the bar forward than when it goes backwards. WILD is an acronym I came up with, part of the name of the podcast, Boiler Wild. WILD stands for work hard, invest in yourself, lead others, and develop yourself into a person of excellence. As I've said in all previous podcasts, I believe we should strive as humans to be better every day and develop ourselves. And that will look different for different people, and everybody can have different goals. There is no one right answer. But if you're not getting better every day, what are you doing? So this podcast is a little different. I'm trying to bring a little bit more daily life into these. I don't know what I'm doing podcasting. We are episode 15. So we are making our way along, and I am just trying to work on communication with this podcast. As I've said in one of the early episodes, part of starting this podcast is to help me communicate better, to help me talk better. If you haven't already listened to previous podcasts, I stumble over my words. I have a lot of filler words, ums and ahs and pauses. I think slow. I am everything a podcaster shouldn't be. The only thing I have going for me is my mom says I have a face for radio. So that's a positive, but I am everything a podcaster shouldn't be. I don't talk well. I don't communicate well. I'm not a great storyteller, but that's not going to stop me. And I think we should all do things that scare us. I've said previously that this podcast, I wouldn't say scares me, but it's more, it challenges me. I don't enjoy doing it per se. Like I enjoy the conversation and like part of it and talking about like boilers, but I never woke up and said, you know what I would love to do? Just sit around and talk in a microphone and have a conversation with myself. I just love talking. That is not me. If you've ever met me, I can be quiet. I'm definitely an introvert. So that is something that I'm working on. Not that there's anything wrong with being an introvert, but the career that I am in right now, my job responsibility, I am the founder of Boilearn. And if you're not familiar, Boilearn, I wouldn't expect you to be familiar because I suck at marketing, but Boilearn is a company I founded that helps to spread awareness and education in the boiler industry, help train the next generation, help train people up. The official mission of Boilearn is to drive continuous learning and improvement in the boiler industry. Keyword on continuous. If you expect to go to a training class for 3 days and then be set for another year, like that's not gonna be the most efficient way to learn. Like you need to be learning every single day. You'll learn actively by doing your job. Even if you have 30 years of experience, you'll learn every single day. And if you have 1 year of experience, you'll learn every single day. And most of the learning is just finding out what you don't know and then trying to overcome that. And structured training can accelerate that learning process. I'm a big believer that it doesn't take 10 to 20 years to create somebody valuable. I mean, I would say I'm valuable, and I don't have 10 full years of experience fixing boilers, working on boilers, selling boilers. I'm 9 years into a professional career after college, but if you put your head down and if you actively learn, you'd be surprised what you can accomplish in a couple years. So this podcast, part of the reason I opened with life can be funny, find humor, is you may have clicked on the title of the podcast, Beamer's Books, Battlestar Galactica. This is kind of a play on The Office, where Dwight and Jim are going back and forth. It's a well-known clip. I'm not going to describe it beyond that, but I love The Office. Watched a bunch of it in college, but it's a good Office. I don't know, but I don't know. It's just kind of, it's not real, but it's a very, they break the fourth wall. Like, I don't know. It's one of the few TV shows that I enjoy. Haven't seen an episode in forever, but I'll see clips here and there. But the first part of the podcast title, Beamers. So I was driving yesterday and I was coming through a weird spot of a highway where you have two highways kind of merge together. One of them comes in straight, one of them comes in a curve. That curve is more of an exit ramp from another highway. But then those two merge into this like section that's a straight section that then splits three ways. And it always causes a traffic buildup. It was not built for the amount of traffic that is in the area. And I was coming off the curve, if you can imagine, coming off the curve that is feeding into this section. And there's this guy, definitely in his 50s, in a BMW behind me. And the most popular route to go off this highway when it splits into three sections, so you got two coming in, three going out, is the left-hand section, and most cars go that way. And I was merging in on the left-hand side, so all the cars are piled up on the left side, and it's 4 lanes across. So as you go right, the cars get less and less, and you can start, speeding up because there's not cars in front of you. Well, I need to go right, so I'm not going where everybody else is going, and I am doing the correct thing of putting on my blinker and merging into each lane, establishing the lane for about a second, and then merging again instead of cutting across all 4 lanes to my right and just speeding up and going off into the right-hand section of the highway that splits off. And this BMW behind me, he must have thought I was playing with him or something, but he was wanting to more merge around me and then accelerate, but he never put on any blinkers, and he wasn't like super close to me, so I wasn't cutting him off. Like, he was at least 100 feet behind me. But I was watching him. I could see him in my rear view mirror, and I would see him in my side view mirror. I would put on my blinkers. So I'm coming around this curve that's feeding into this section, and I got 4 lanes of traffic on the right of me that's mostly open, but it's coming straight in from a major highway, and I can't see very well cars. And when I know cars coming in, if they have nobody in front of them, they're going to be coming in pretty hot. So you don't want to just cut across 4 lanes of traffic, especially when it's a highway and you can't see very well with your mirror. So I come in and put on my blinker, my right-hand blinker. I merge over, establish the lane. And as I'm doing that, the BMW merges behind me. And then he merges and cuts over into the next lane. And by the time he does that, I have my blinker on again, and this all happens in about like 1 second. So each time I merge is about 1 second. But I establish the lane, check that the next lane is open, and then I keep merging, not just cut across 4 lanes of traffic. If you do that, you're a bad driver. So the BMW cuts over the next lane and goes to accelerate. You know, I see the front of his hood pick up. He accelerates, but I mean, I'm not cutting him off, but I merge over again, and he acts surprised, like he didn't see my blinker, and he must think I'm cutting him off, and he's wanting to take off, and I find out he's also going into the right offshoot of this three-way split. So then he cuts over into the next lane again, no blinker, and then I, but by this time, have my blinker on, and I move over, and I see his hood pick up as he goes to accelerate. His hands go up in the air, and then he cuts over once again, and this is the last lane. So then I cut over, and he just lays on the horn like I am trying to cut him off or something. And like I said, I'm not cutting him off, like we're not even close to hitting, like, but he was more under the impression that he was just going to whip around me in the next lane and then accelerate into this free space as more cars are going left in the left lanes, and they're like slowing down and stopping, versus the right lanes, which are more open space, as the right offshoot of this highway is not as popular for people to go. And he lays on the horn, speeds around me, and glares at me and puts his hands up like I am the worst driver in the world. And then I watch him speed off and weave in and out of traffic with no blinker. And I'm like, all right, well, like, they don't make stereotypes for a reason. Like, guy, where do you not see the humor here? Like, you're driving a BMW, a 7 Series, and you are getting mad at me for merging, where people merge all the time. It's not like we're on a straight section of highway. We have 2 highways coming together. You were right behind me on this exit/on-ramp that we curved into this. And this section of highway, everybody's going back and forth in lanes trying to get in the proper lane to go off where it splits 3 ways. And he is just all up in arms because he must have thought I was intentionally cutting him off, and he couldn't speed up and just go around me. And that's humor for me. I think that's just hilarious that he probably doesn't realize the irony of that it's like, I mean, if you don't know, it's a stereotype that BMW drivers don't use turn signals, and that BMW wastes money by adding turn signals to their cars. And this guy, like, 0 turn signals. I watched him as he was cutting across these lanes behind me. I use my rear view mirror and I use my side mirror a lot, and I could watch his BMW come out behind me, hood pick up in my side mirror, so he's accelerating, and then I get over. And like I said, I wasn't like cutting him off. Like, he was at least 100 feet behind me. You know, at least he had good follow distance. He wasn't tailgating me, but he was close enough that he thought I was cutting him off. And that's just hilarious to me. And he should take a chill pill. I mean, I don't understand why everybody gets so upset about drivers in America. I also don't understand. It seems like everybody says they have the worst drivers in their area, but it seems like the standard for driving has just gone down and down and down. Like, I don't know anything about driving in Europe, but from what I've heard, it's harder to get a license. And I feel like we should have the same thing in America. Like, when I got a license at 16, I drove around the block. It was 2 stop signs and 2 stoplights. Didn't even get on the highway. Didn't even have to parallel park. Yep, here you go. And then you pass a written exam that's multiple choice. That's like 30 questions. That's basic. And my driver's ed was videos from the 90s that were like the new invention of ABS on VHS tapes. And this was, what, 2010, 2011? So, I mean, it's not like we were ancient times, but there is no incentive for the government, I guess, to improve driving, as there's no wealth and riches. There's wealth and riches other places to manipulate. But I think we kill like 35,000 or 40,000 people a year in auto accidents. So it seems like a good place to start of, hey, maybe we should take driving more serious and make sure that 16-year-old kids understand how serious driving is. And, you know, playing on your phone. And, you know, when I drive on the highway, I am shocked by the amount of people that it's not like, oh, I glanced at my phone to like look at directions or like look at a text or whatnot. Like, I'll admit I'll do that too, especially driving directions. But I make sure nobody's around me. I make sure nobody's in front of me. Glance at my phone. I don't have a car with a screen on the dash, so I have to look at my phone for driving directions. Look at my phone. Look at the GPS. Make sure I'm going the right way. All right, we're good. And then get back to driving. But I will pass people that are scrolling Facebook. I'm like, what are we doing here? Like, you obviously are the problem. But that's a rant. I won't go down that way, but we need to get better as drivers in America. We need to hold a higher standard. I think the driving standards have gone too low, and I'm all for more government regulation on the new standard of drivers. The existing drivers, we kind of got to give up, but it should be way harder to get a license, and people should take it way more serious, because you normally don't take it seriously until you have an accident or a brush with death, and then all of a sudden now it's serious and personal, and most of the time it's too late. And it, you know, if we can get that 40,000 people a year killed every year from dying or from driving, like if we can get that down, like, you know, it sounds terrible, but, you know, there's a plane accident and 10 people die, and then everybody's up in arms about plane safety and all this stuff. But auto accidents are deemed normal. So it's like, oh, yep, you know, I don't know whatever the number is, but 20 people die a day from auto accidents. Oh, yeah, it's normal. Just another bit in the news. Give them 30 seconds in the news and move on. But a plane accident, oh, this is terrible. It's mostly because we've become so normalized to auto accidents that it's seen as something we can't get rid of. And plane accidents, while there's a lot of private jets that have accidents, especially single engine airplanes, you know, when especially a commercial flight, when they have an accident, plane goes down or whatever, gets hit in the air like that in Washington, D.C., that collided with that helicopter, that's just awful. But whenever that happens, it's, this is terrible and everything. It's like, we kill 40,000 people a year driving. Like, I think that's terrible too. But anyways, that's a rant. Second part of the podcast title, Beamer's Books, Battlestar Galactica. Books. I recently bought a book. It's called Steel Isn't Hard to Learn by Shane Turcott. I think I'm saying that right. Turcott. And I bought this from a recommendation on LinkedIn and from a corrosion water treatment guy. He posted about it. I will pull up his name because he deserves a shout out, but I know he definitely doesn't and won't ever listen to this. But the book is basically about steel, and it's written for people like me and probably like people like you who are not engineers. I'm not a metallurgist. And I just want to learn about a topic. And this book is perfect. So steel, obviously, is very important in the boiler industry, as all boilers are built out of steel. I have yet to see a plastic boiler. Let me know when a boiler that's plastic exists. Although I guess we have copper boilers, but copper fin tube. But I mean, you got the jacket of the boiler that's steel. And by steel, if you're not aware, so steel is the material, but then you have stainless steel, carbon steel, cast iron. Like, it's all kind of a subsection of that, and it's all different properties. But this book, tons of pictures. This is not a engineering book, although it's written by an engineer. Jane Turcotte. Once again, this is Steel Isn't Hard, and then parentheses, to learn. And this book is 180 pages, but it's written like just for the average person, but it goes over like corrosion and like the structure of steel, what heating steel does, different alloys. And I find it fascinating to read about, because, when you are, bolting flanges together or whatnot, you pick up some bolts, and those bolts have a rating. And the typical ratings, like, once again, I am not an expert, but the typical ratings are like grade 2, grade 5, grade 8 for bolts. And you have tensile strengths for those bolts. So a grade 2 is a lower strength bolt than a grade 8. Grade 8 bolts also cost more. And then if you get like a stainless bolt, that's going to cost more because it has natural properties that resist corrosion. But it's a very, very good book. I can tell, like, he used some stock photos on the chapter titles and whatnot, but all the photos for like the corrosion and like talking about like up close on steel, he'll cut like bolts in half and like corrode them, or like weld them and then cut them in half. Like, he took all the photos. It's not like he just like went online and just pulled some photos off the internet. So it's very like up close, down and dirty photos of steel and what happens. And I think it's interesting. Does it have to deal with boilers at all? No. Am I gonna now be a metallurgist or like look at steel failures and whatnot? No. But you read about steel, and if you ever go to build something and you're ordering it from somebody, they'll say, all right, well, what do you want this made out of? And you're like, I don't know, like steel. They're like, yeah, well, what kind of steel? So then you say like carbon steel. They're like, all right, what kind of carbon steel? And then there's like A36, which is a very common type of steel, but all kinds of just different grades of steel. Boilers, like a typical like fire tube boiler, like that, the steel that is rolled into the shell, like that's a special steel, and that is all specified by ASME and the thickness and all that jazz. So that's my call out of books that I just acquired. I'm a big book person. Oh, I don't think I called out the guy that recommended this on LinkedIn. William Ritter, Vice President, Corrosion Coupons and Laboratory Test Specimens at Pacific Sensor. So, not in the boiler industry, but corrosion coupons, as corrosion is probably the number one killer of boiler. So very, very interesting. Once again, if you're not aware, big fan of LinkedIn. If you are not on LinkedIn, if you're not active on LinkedIn, get on LinkedIn, get active. Don't just scroll. Don't be a ghost. Get a profile picture that is of you. Take a selfie or have somebody take a photo of you. Doesn't have to be a professional shot. you don't need, I would say actually a professional headshot makes it less authentic, but show you in your natural environment, clean up a little bit. If you're a service technician, you can be wearing a service uniform. Like, don't feel like you have to wear a shirt and tie because you see the LinkedIn bros wearing a shirt and tie. That probably makes you less authentic. Now, if you're the CEO of a company, maybe you should be wearing a shirt and tie. And, but that's, if you don't wear a shirt and tie every day, then I wouldn't wear a shirt and tie in your LinkedIn photo. And then make a banner photo and update the about section of your profile. And yeah, it's LinkedIn is a tool. Number one, I would say networking, but just learning about other people, what other people do. I've expanded my, I wouldn't say reach, but I've expanded my horizons on what different job opportunities are out there. Not that I'm looking for a job, but like different industries that people work in. Like, there are so many jobs in America that are hidden that people have no idea about because they're not cool, they're not fancy, they're not, they're not Google, Apple, Tesla, all those jobs. Like, it's this no-name company from down the road that everybody passes, but then you find out they make a critical part for, whatever assembly for a larger company, or, it's, there's all these small companies and weird jobs that people have. And I find that fascinating. And I love connecting with people that I would normally never meet. And I haven't met a lot of people on LinkedIn. Don't feel like sending a connection request. The connection request, and you have to know them. That is old school LinkedIn. As long as they are semi in your field and you have some overlapping properties, send that connection request. If it's a larger account, you would just follow it. But most people under 10,000 followers, it's going to be a connection request, and you'll see stuff. They'll see your stuff. If you connect, you both follow each other. And I always find it, I had one guy, I sent a guy a connection request. He was, I don't know, his job was something about boilers, 100% in the boiler industry, definitely an older guy. And he messages me and goes, "Hey, how do we know each other?" I'm like, all right, like, well, one, we don't, so your memory isn't bad, but it's not that serious. The connection request is not that serious. I guess if you want to keep your network super low, but there's no value to that. Purging out connection requests, as long as you're smart with them and with people who overlap in your industry. Now, if you get on LinkedIn, there's, and you just chase a connection request number or followers number, and you get connected to a bunch of randos, and it's more, and you're just chasing a metric. Yes, now you will hate LinkedIn, because when you get on your news feed, you will see nothing but random people that you have no desire to learn about, that post random nonsense of, most likely success quotes and like just random garbage. Yes, that is what you want to avoid. LinkedIn is not about how many connections you have or followers. That's a metric that, if you're trying to grow your profile and gain credibility, yes, it matters. But if that's the only metric that you are chasing, it doesn't actually matter then, because you're not learning anything from those connections. I have had so many phone calls from people that I've met on LinkedIn that will like comment on each other's posts, and then we'll DM, and then like, hey, like, let's hop on the phone. Like, I'm not trying to sell you anything. I'm not trying to buy anything from you. I'm just interested in learning about who you are, what you do, and like, I don't know, that's cool. Like, don't be the person that connects with somebody, send them a message and say, "Hey, buy my stuff." Like, nobody wants that. But you use it to create authentic relationships, be curious, learn about people. And there's tons of people that post a lot of valuable information. I mean, I think I post some cool stuff. I try to keep it light. I try to spread a little education, trying to figure out, some unique things to do. But connect with me, follow me, send me a DM if you listen to this podcast. Would love it. And yeah, books. There are tons of boiler books. There's lots of books that aren't boiler focused, just like this Steel Isn't Hard to Learn book that I love. I love lots of business books and personal development books, and I try to read every day. I'm not perfect. I won't say I read every day. I don't read 70 books a year. It's not about how many books you read a year. It's what you get from them. If you just read books and never change your life, never change your actions, then you're not really doing anything. You're just chasing a statistic that doesn't matter. And some great books that I've read is Never Split the Difference. Like, that is a excellent book. And one of my favorites. I mean, it's a very famous book. And then another one of my most favorite books is Commanding Excellence by Gary Morton, Morton. That book I'll read at least once a year. And I love it because it goes over a couple real scenarios that actually happened and essentially how teams overcame impossible challenges, which I think is great. It's not somebody's life of, I started this company in my garage and then yada, yada, yada. Now it's a $400 million company. It goes, hey, we had this challenge. It was impossible. Nobody said we could do this. We worked as a team, and it's a third-party perspective. And I love it. I also love boiler books. A very good boiler book that is educational, that's not like textbook, is Blowback, an anecdotal look at pressure equipment and harmless devices that can kill you by Paul Brennan. This is an excellent book. It is 258 pages-ish, and it looks into pressure vessel, gas explosions, boiler explosions through history and how they shaped codes and regulations. And it has tons of pictures. Once again, this is not a textbook. This is more of I wouldn't say it's a history book. It goes over history. Like, codes are written in blood, and this is the blood that a lot of the codes have stemmed from. And it's very interesting. It's a good couch book to pick up, read a chapter, but it's fascinating. But you're not, this is not a textbook. So you'll learn stuff and gain more perspective about why the world, you'll gain more perspective about why the world is the way it is, but you're not going to be learning how to size the safety valve for a boiler. So I love books, read books, try to read 10 pages a day. That's a good goal. A little bit over many, many days adds up. You think 10 pages a day isn't much, but all of a sudden, after a week, that's 70 pages. And then after 3 weeks, you're probably done through a book. Like, if you don't break it down and say, hey, you got to read a book in 3 weeks, that sounds like a lot. But if you just say, hey, I just have to read 10 pages a day, that doesn't sound too bad. So break down the goal, accomplish it, check it off. The next day, read 10 pages. And once again, I'm not perfect. There are days I don't read 10 pages. There are days I read 50 pages. This Steel book, I bought it on Amazon, came the next day. Thank you, Jeff Bezos. And I think I read half the book in one night. And by read, like, I read it. I didn't fully understand everything. This is a book that I'll have to read 20 times to even digest it. But it's written for a person like me. It's not an engineering book. There's no math calculations and do this. This is how you calculate the shear factor or whatever of a bolt, whatever. I don't know. But it's interesting to learn about steel. I love to expand my horizons. But, yep, this is the Boiler Wild podcast. Thank you for listening if you got this far. I appreciate it. I would appreciate it if you leave a review, 5-star reviews only. Please and thank you. If you hate the podcast, send it to somebody you hate or send it to your competitor so I can waste their time and win them over. And maybe they'll love the podcast and become one of my biggest fans. I would appreciate that. If you have any questions, if you have podcast recommendations for topics, if you want to be a guest, if you have guest recommendations, you want to nominate somebody, you can email me, eric.johnson@boilerin.com. You can also DM me on LinkedIn. I will respond. And I thank you for listening. I hope you have a great day and stay wild.